If we don't want to perform time-consuming and risky customization, Commander, the Javelin's got nearly everything we need to be the primary mech we use for scouting. Let's go over its stats in BattleTech Classic and how to use this mech to its maximum potential. After that, I'll show you an experimental design that I think will fix its one glaring flaw. Production year, 2751, Star League era. Name, Javelin, JVN-10N. Weight, 30 tons. Faction, all inner sphere. Role, Reconnaissance Striker. The Javelin was originally produced to be a reconnaissance mech, but with its good blend of power and speed, clever leaders quickly realized the mech could be used to terrifying effect when conducting ambushes. The mech is armed with 2 Arrowlight SRM-6 launchers and 2 tons of reloads, which makes for a ferocious critical hit mech, but reliant on good logistics for resupply. The design was widely distributed amongst the Great Houses before the destruction of its only factory during their Amaris Civil War. Despite no new Javelins being produced for the last 250 years, the mech is still one of the most commonly available in the Inner Sphere. Most of the Javelins are owned by the Federated Suns, where it makes up 11.5% of all their light mech forces. Logistically speaking, the mech's popularity means it shouldn't be too difficult for us to buy one at a fair price, or find replacement parts, if you'd like to, Commander. Offensively, the Javelin 10N is a crit seeker. Its job is to exploit holes on the enemy mech's armor that are created by its lancemates. When it lands both SRM launchers, it averages a whopping 8 rolls on the hit location table. This nearly ensures any mech with stripped armor will need to check for crits. The high damage on the Javelin is a bit overrated, however, as it will splash across the enemy chassis. For this reason, the Javelin 10N should be partnered with a mech that is a piercing or efficiency type weapon. It should also be one of the last mechs to shoot the target its lance is ganging up on, in order to maximize the number of crits that are scored. On the flip side of the coin, the Javelin is a defensive liability. It has 5 key locations it must defend with its armor. This is tied for the highest out of any light mech. It has only 8 armor on each of these locations. This means a hit with a large laser and follow-up shot from any other weapon can potentially destroy our 2.4 million C-bill investment. The locations that the Javelin must defend are the legs to maintain its mobility as a light, the center torso where the core components lie, and the right and left torso where a ton of ammunition is housed. Moving on to mobility, we can see the Javelin makes a very good scout. The benchmark we use to judge scout mechs is the ability to move faster than the Phoenix Hawk. With its speed, a large laser, and good armor, this mech is a big threat that other scout mechs are forced to play around. The Javelin keeps pace with the Phoenix Hawk, meaning that it cannot get chased down in a fight as long as it moves away before the bigger mech can get in range with its large laser. Having the same movement profile as the Phoenix Hawk also means the Javelin pairs well with it during scouting missions. They can move seamlessly together as a unit during these types of operations. The only flaw with the Javelin is that it's unbalanced, meaning that the pilots should try to avoid situations where they need to make piloting checks due to difficult terrain. Taking all these factors into account, Commander, I would rate the stock Javelin a B for us mercenaries. While it has some concerning defensive issues, its good offense and superb mobility make it one of the better mechs we can deploy if we decide not to do our own customization. While the 10N is okay, I'd strongly recommend our mercenary company use the 10F variant, nicknamed Fire Javelin, which mounts 4 medium lasers instead of the SRMs. This removes the possibility of an ammunition explosion instantly destroying our mech, and gives the Javelin a bit more penetration. I do have a quick refit that I think will fix the 10N's defensive issue though, but first let me brief you on how our pilots should use the variant if we do decide to take it into battle, as is. In order to do decent damage, the first goal of the Javelin should be to close to a range of 2 to 6 hexes. To do this, pilots need to use speed and terrain to preserve their limited armor on their approach to the target. They should aim to move at least 7 hexes if they run, or 5 hexes if they jump. This way they maintain a +3 penalty to be shot at. For heat management, it's important for 10F pilots to try to keep the mech's heat at or below 2 on the approach. This will allow it to jump an alpha strike with no penalties to hit. That is, it can use its jump jets and fire all of its medium lasers. The 10N can keep its heat below 4. This maneuver is powerful because it allows the pilot to place his mech pretty much wherever he likes to attack an exposed side location or rear armor. To perform this maneuver, pilots should keep their heat low on the approach and remember to twist their torso to soak incoming fire to their arms. They should then use their jump jets just enough to clear the enemy mech's head. Once in the air, pilots should rotate their legs to the next location they want to run to, and then turn to fire at their victim's exposed back. Experienced pilots will be able to fire mid-air while keeping their aim steady as they drop. Once the Javelin closes to 2 to 6 hexes, the pilot's goal shifts to trying to maintain high damage, that is, firing at least 3 medium lasers per turn, while using their speed to minimize the amount of return fire. Heat should ideally be kept 7 or below to avoid penalties to shooting, but can be brought up to 14 in an emergency situation. Any more than that and the heat buildup will lock the mech up too much to move effectively. The SRM carrying Javelin 10N pilots should hold their fire until after their lancemates shoot, in order to maximize the number of potential critical hits they can score on their victim. If this information is helpful to you, Commander, please subscribe to this channel for more tactical insights. Now let's go over to the mech bay and I'll show you a simple refit that makes this mech more suitable for us mercenaries. We're designating this experimental Javelin MERCX1 and naming it the Sidekick, as a reminder that this mech should always be supporting others, rather than working alone. This change is intended to increase the survivability of the Javelin while retaining its identity as a critical hit seeker. We're swapping the two SRM-6s to SRM-4s and dropping a ton of ammunition to add a medium laser. The remaining ton we freed up was used for extra armor. The rebuild improves survivability of the Javelin at the cost of critical hit potential. Importantly, the rear armor of the mech was increased to 3 on each location, which protects it from any falls. Ammunition has been decreased from 15 to 12 turns of shooting, so pilots may need to conserve ammunition by only opening fire once they reach 6 hexes or less. Combat simulations show this amount is sufficient for engagements, but if the build ends up having any issues, we can experiment with swapping the medium laser and half a ton of armor for a small laser and a ton of ammunition. Here are a few sample lance formations that utilize the Javelin chassis as the core mech. The first formation is a simple variation of the one that House Davion deploys. It uses 4 Javelins, but instead of using the 10N like the Fed use, I'd recommend using the more durable 10F variant as the main mech. In addition to being a bit more durable, the unit can operate further away from supply lines, as the medium lasers effectively give the mechs infinite ammo. This lance is also very good logistically, as they're all serviced by the same parts. The next lance is a good scout lance when we're expecting to face mostly other battle mechs. The lance is led by a Phoenix Hawk, whose multi-channel communications gear gives an initiative bonus to the lance, and whose large laser will pierce most Light's unit's armor in a single hit. It is supported by 1 Javelin 10F carrying medium lasers, and a Javelin 10N carrying SRMs to follow up on holes in the armor. The final mech is a Locust 1E to keep the lance under 130 tons and qualify it as a light lance. If you're curious about why the Phoenix Hawk or the Locust make superb mechs for our mercenary company, or how our pilot should use them on the battlefield, I'd invite you to look at the detailed guide videos for them on this channel.
Yeah, we ran